All right. Thank you guys for joining me today. I am going to be talking about resume writing, cover letters, and anything in between. So if you have any questions during the webinar, let me know. We'll spend about 35 minutes talking about what we expect to see on resumes. We'll talk about how to set up a resume, how to write a cover letter, all of that good stuff. And if you have any questions, definitely ask them. That's the point of the chat window that you see. We may have some folks pop in and pop out. So definitely ask your questions. Hi, Kathy. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can.
Oh, now you can. Okay. All right. So we're going to start talking about resumes. I have a few people that are from high school. So you guys are in Harrison County, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Good deal. So the first thing I wanted to let you know is I'm Amanda Saha. I'm the Director of Career Development at the University of Kentucky. And part of the reason why I'm doing this video conference webinar is I'm testing out ways to share information with classrooms. So tomorrow night, I'm going to deliver this video we're recording right now to a group of students in our Family Sciences major. So I could not be with them for their class, but they still need some resume writing instruction. And of course, any questions that you ask and that I answer, they'll be able to see in that recording. So definitely ask questions along the way. So there's kind of two things I like to address when it comes to resume writing. Now, preparing your resume as a document is one thing. I can certainly help students in all sorts of ways write a really fantastic resume. That is actually the easy part, regardless of what your writing skills are or how good you are with the computer and Microsoft Word and all the things like InDesign. I really think crafting a resume, writing, designing, that is the easy part. But if you're a student that hasn't taken part in the right experiences to put on the resume, that is something that I can't help you with necessarily. So by the time that you're at a point where you want to apply for a part-time job, an internship, maybe you're going to use this resume for a scholarship, my hope is that you have done all the things or done some things to help you fill that resume. So you're looking for diverse experiences like part-time work, of course, volunteerism, education abroad, any sort of extracurricular activities you're a part of. So as a high schooler, that's going to be all of your activities, but you're really trying to present yourself as a well-rounded candidate. So let's say you're a senior in college and you come to your Director of Career Development for help on resume writing. Again, the easy part is laying it out on the paper, but the hard part is when you have to kind of start from scratch in creating a document when you don't have experiences that really support your application. So we're going to talk today mostly about that document preparation, but I always like to encourage students, hey, you need to be doing this stuff. You need to be getting involved. You need to be volunteering. You need to get a job. Even if it's part-time, you're working at a grocery store or you're working at the feed mill, that is super important. There are students in the College of Ag at UK that are using experiences, part-time work experiences from high school still at the end of their college career, and they keep it on their resume because it shows an incredible amount of transferable skills. Maybe it's customer service, maybe it's communication, but all of those experiences kind of prove your worth to a potential employer. So work on that now, because your career coach, your career counselor can't make up those experiences for you. So I am going to share my screen with you and show you a sample resume that we provide a lot of students in our college, it is very basic. I've had this resume sample with me for years, and occasionally I do have some students say it's not their favorite. Well, if you're a merchandising, apparel, and textiles major at UK and you like to glam things up, maybe this is too basic for you. But by and large, with employers, it's usually a winner, and it has all the basics that we like to see on a student resume. So I am going to pull this up for you real quick. I can just move this. All right, hopefully you can see this resume. If you cannot see this resume, I want you to unmute yourself and let me know. All right, looks like everybody can see the resume. So a couple things about this resume, and
I'll not see the resume.
You cannot see the resume. Okay.
But you're doing way better with this software than I would, so I'm super impressed still.
All right, let me pull this back up, and we're going to go back into this chat, and we are going to share our screen. Can you see the document now?
Yes.
Yay! Okay, good. All right, what you see is, first thing you'll notice about this resume, it is a Microsoft Word document. We have created this from scratch. We're not using any templates here. In fact, and Kathy may pipe in on this, but I hate resume templates. And it doesn't matter whether you're a high school student, you're a college student, you're a seasoned professional. I prefer in all cases that you abstain from the use of like a canned resume template. I offer that advice because, number one, the resume that you pick from Microsoft Word, Microsoft Publisher, any of those other, InDesign even, the template that you pick, 20 other students will pick. So you never want your resume to kind of blend in with other students. Also, typically with those templates, if you decide that you want to make any sort of change to the format, you're locked into sometimes tables, certain structure that's built into that document that you will not be able to change. So I would say stick with a Word document, and if you feel like you're not creative enough, that you don't want to attempt to create your own beautiful resume in Word, go out to Pinterest, although Pinterest can be a little bit overwhelming. I will say go out there, look at resumes that you like, especially the aesthetics of those resumes, and create it yourself. Print them out and try to create yourself. So first things first, on this document, we have used the layout feature here, and we have adjusted the margin so that the margins around this page are 1/2 inch. This allows you to just simply squeeze more information and content on the page. We have also led with a large 26 point name. And it's also in all caps. I would say all caps is a feature that's underutilized on a resume to gain attention. Excuse me. So William Wildcat has his name big and bright and bold on the top of the page. Chances are I will remember this guy's name, purely for the fact that I've written it in a large font that catches my eye very quickly. I've also saved an incredible amount of space by putting all of the contact information for this student on one line. So I've simply used the kind of vertical line here to separate the physical address, the city, state, and zip. I use one email address and one phone number. You don't have to tell me cell. That is not necessary. At this day and age, I know that any phone number that someone gives me is likely going to be a cell number. I will say, with this number that you put on a resume, if I call you, I expect to hear you answer the phone, or I expect to hear a professional greeting on the voicemail when I call to leave a message. So remember that when you're putting your phone number on the resume. Then we've also put a very simple horizontal line. So the next part of the resume that I get lots of questions about is the objective statement. Now you'll notice on this resume, I don't really have an objective statement. That is very much intentional. Lots of employers that I work with at least say that the objective statement is really a waste of space. And if you're a college student and you're really fighting to make good use of all that space, sometimes it's, it's hard, and you have to think about the fact that this top third of the resume is the most valuable real estate on that resume. And do you want to waste this high dollar resume real estate with an objective statement? If you're giving a resume to me as an employer and you're also giving me a cover letter, why tell me what your objective is? I know what your objective is. I like the idea of a summary of qualifications. Some students will put professional summary here, and that's usually 3 to 5 bullet points or small, maybe a small paragraph. I'm not a big fan of paragraphs, but what I choose to put in that category are the things that will be most impressive to that employer. So if you're looking at a job posting and the employer asks for someone that's bilingual, put that front and center. If it's really important to them that you have a strong work ethic or you have experience with agricultural production, you might want to put it there. Now, I will say, you need to be authentic. You need to tell the truth. We don't want to claim to be things that we're not, but I do think this part of the resume is going to get the longest and the strongest look. So why not put what is most impressive about you as a candidate front and center? So that's why I like the summary of qualifications instead of an objective statement. On your education, if you're a college student, I want to know what degree you're getting. If you're a student in the College of Agriculture, Food, and Environment at the University of Kentucky, you are getting a bachelor's degree. Even if you haven't graduated yet, you can put Bachelor's of Science, your major, an anticipated graduation date. You could write expected. Not a big fan of date ranges here. I think really all an employer wants to know is, what are you getting and when are you going to get it? So then we followed up. Notice that the bachelor's degree here is bolded. Also, our headings are all caps and bold like the title. But we've bolded the things that are important. Most employers are going to give you are going to give you about 9 seconds to look at your resume for the first time. So it's important that it is important. I'm reading the chats now. This is my first webinar, so I'm reading the chats, and thank you for that comment, Kathy. I do think that it is really important to bold what's most important for that employer, because I don't want to spend a lot of time reading this. So your bachelor's degree, when you're going to get it, is important. If you're a high school student, I want to know where you went to high school, what diploma you're getting, any other relevant information, like if you have special awards, if you're in a special college or advanced placement program, anything academic, put that there. This college student has listed an education abroad course here for that student, and maybe this specific employer. It's important for that student to highlight that UK education abroad experience. And very briefly, they've let me know what the course was about, when the travel occurred, where they went, and a brief statement to cover kind of the topics, the topical information of that study abroad course. So as you can see, we move from education, and if you go out there into the vast world of the interwebs, you will see lots of resumes that start out with experience. If you are a high school or a college student, your most recent full-time role is that as a student. So I definitely want you to put your education first, okay? Don't put experience first, because your full-time effort and focus really has been that of a student. And if I am considering you for a job, an internship, whatever the case may be, I want to see that first. All right, then we're going to move into experience here. For this student, they've had 3 jobs / internships. Another thing that you'll notice is we go in reverse chronological order. That means most recent back in history. So this student has been a student assistant at the University of Kentucky. Again, the title is bolded. Remember, I only have 9 seconds. I might not even read this content, the bullet points. I could probably take a wild guess as to what a student assistant does at UK. So that's why I think it's really important to bold the title, put the date over here to the side so it's really easy. My eyes can scan this very fast. Also, here is a professional tip for you as a resume writer. I want you to know that if I decide to read this information right here, chances are I'm probably only going to read the first bullet point. That's the truth of the matter. Remember, I don't have a lot of time. So that's where I think it's really important for you to consider every single resume you're writing and every single employer you're sending it to. Now, career fairs, events where you're handing out a resume to maybe a ton of people, that's a little bit different. But if you're going to submit this resume to one specific employer, look at what they want, look at your jobs, see what's relevant in your work experience, and highlight that in the first bullet point. So let's say you apply for a job, a full-time job as someone that works with reservoir characterization. Because maybe that is in the posting that you're applying to, you might want to put reservoir characterization in the first bullet point. So basically what you're doing is you're making sure to highlight the most relevant pieces of your former work experiences to that employer. Also, I want to encourage you as a student to include anything at this point. There are a lot of professors in my building. There are folks out there that will say, don't tell me that you worked in an ice cream shop. That's not relevant. As a 17 and 18-year-old, even a 20-year-old student, I don't expect that you may have a ton of relevant work experience. And don't forget about the transferable skills that come from working in an ice cream shop. You develop time management skills, you develop communication skills, customer service skills, you become responsible for something, you handle money. And all of those skills in that ice cream shop, you can easily turn over to an internship in sales with a company like Dow AgriSciences, for instance. So don't shortchange your work experience, whether it's in an ice cream shop or a 4-H camp counseling position, or if you worked in a daycare center, at part-time. Those are all relevant. When you get to the point where you have so much experience in terms of work experience, maybe clubs and activities, and your resume becomes 2 or 3 pages, then we can kind of really look closely at your work experience and say, does that matter anymore? Are there other experiences that are more valuable? Since I'm on the topic of length of resume, you'll see that this resume is 1 page. Most employers prefer a 1-page resume. Now, I realize in high school, you're creating resumes for scholarships, you're doing all sorts of, you're creating this resume for a variety of experiences. So I know that in high school, you may need to list every single thing, list every single award, every volunteer experience, and every club and activity. If you feel the need to go into 2 or 3 pages, that's fine. That's your choice. But as a person that reads hundreds of resumes, I can tell you whatever's on that second page is not going to get as much attention as what's right here front and center on the first. So I do think, especially when you get to college, you need to be choosy. All right, so we've covered summary of qualifications, we've covered education, education abroad, experience, honors and affiliation. So this bottom part of the resume, I think it really depends on the student what that's going to look like. So for this student, they have chosen a few clubs, and they did include a scholarship down here as well. They've been choosy. Maybe they had other extracurricular activities that they didn't tell me about, but we're at this point of the resume, they're running out of space. So I don't need your life story. I need you to tell me enough to pique my interest. So this student has chosen the fact that they're a college ambassador, farmhouse fraternity, just a couple of words here about their roles, UK Horticulture Club, and the dates. Notice on this resume that all the dates are aligned very nicely on the right side of the page. Lastly, we have special skills. I'll be really honest with you. I don't know that this category is actually necessary for every student. So this specific student is a natural resources and environmental sciences student. And so they have chosen to talk about model development, ancillary functions, InDesign, very specific like computer skills, technical skills that may be required of the internship that they're seeking. So I will say for sure, you know, what I would not put in special skills is social media. I have students that write resumes and at the bottom, special skills, social media. Special skills, I can operate Microsoft Word. Special skills, I can use the internet. Those are not special at all. And if you do have skills that are really special and appealing to an employer, I would put them at the top in the summary of qualifications, quite simply. So just understand that whatever you put at the bottom of this resume is probably not going to get as much attention as what's on top. And also, if you're going to have a special skills category, it really does need to be special. And if you don't know what that is or what makes you stand out, ask. Have someone review your resume for you. Obviously, in the College of Ag, Food, and Environment, that's what I'm here for. Use Grammarly. That's another app that I use on my computer to help me catch grammar and spelling errors. You can certainly download that for free. That will help as well. So that is the resume. That was a lot of information. This is a sample that I would be glad to send out to you. And of course, I can't stress enough that your resume really needs to reflect the employer or whatever opportunity you are targeting. So think about that every time you craft a resume. And yes, that does mean that you may have to recreate this resume with every single job application you're putting out there. So it's not a one and done situation. I keep a working resume file on my computer. I am asked to submit resumes from time to time if I'm being asked to sit on a board or volunteer. And so it's really easy for me to send a clean, updated resume because I'm updating it all the time. And I will say, when I was a high school junior, I had to complete a resume for my AP English class, I believe it was. And I used that working document all through college. Some of the look and feel of it changed, but once you do a great job writing, just keep adding to it. You can mess with the format. You can do all of those things along the way. Do I have any questions about the resume? I noticed there's been a few comments here. No questions from students just yet. So I'm going to hop into cover letter creation now. And you're going to notice like a stark difference in how I talk about cover letters and how I talk about resumes. When I talk about resumes, I am willing to give you samples. I'm willing to give you templates or ideas of how to structure a pretty resume. But with cover letters, I don't give out samples and I don't give out copies of cover letters of the past. Why? because cover letter writing is just like you writing an email to a teacher or your grandmother. Every single letter that you write has to be tailored and specific to the person you're sending it to. So I know probably a lot of folks are not writing letters to their grandmother anymore. But if you've ever been taught how to write a letter, go back to that time when you were in grade school and someone taught you how to write a letter. That's what you're doing now. You are writing a letter to a specific recruiter, a specific board member, whoever it is. And you are talking very specifically to that person about their opportunity and why you are the perfect candidate for that opportunity. So I will very quickly show you a shell of a cover letter. It's certainly not perfect, but it's something I pulled off the internet. And again, I don't hand out samples to my college students because, quite simply, I want them to do the work. I don't want them to copy someone else's letter, because if you're writing an employer-specific letter, every single letter you write should be different. All right, so I am going to share that screen. Hopefully this works for us. All right, so here is my letter sample, and I'll make this a little bit bigger. Let me know if you can't see this. All right, so it is a basic form letter. I start with my information here, the date. I do address the person that's offering the position. Sometimes it's hard to come up with a name. If you don't know that person's name, maybe you just put the organization here. As far as the salutation, I do think it's important to use the word dear. So, dear Mrs. Smith or dear Miss Smith. We do have folks on campus that think it is better just to start out by saying, hello, Amanda. In my case, maybe I'm just a little bit old school, but I think it's always good to err on the side of conservative. So I like to see dear. I like to see a formal salutation to the person you're addressing. In my case, it would be Miss Saha. If you don't know if they're a Miss or a Mrs., just go with Miss. And if you know that they have advanced education, like a PhD or a medical doctor, or if they're a doctor of veterinary medicine, I want you to put dear doctor. Those people have earned that salutation, so definitely be respectful and address them appropriately. If you cannot find the name of a contact for a job that you're applying for, you could put to whom it may concern. So I won't read this to you, but basically the first paragraph of this cover letter says, basically, I'm excited to learn about your posting and I'm applying for it. So in that first paragraph, I usually start out cover letters by saying, it's with much enthusiasm that I submit my resume and credentials to you for your consideration for the position of XYZ at XYZ. I was referred to this position by Savannah Robin, or whoever that may be with that organization. And you can say a couple other things, that you're excited about the posting, you feel like you're an excellent fit, whatever that might be. I reserve the middle of this letter for you to tell me exactly how you are going to contribute to that organization. So you really need to make the case that you're the best person here. And you also want to avoid just regurgitating everything that's on that resume. I can see what's on your resume. I don't need for you to repeat all that in your cover letter. In your cover letter, talk about things that aren't easily articulated in the resume. Talk about your communication skills. Talk about your passion. Talk about the fact that you love writing, or you have a passion for photography, or that you grew up on a farm and you have a work ethic that is unmatched by your peers. I will be honest with you. I was a farm kid and I grew up working on that farm. I learned how to drive when I was in the 5th grade. I was raising my own tobacco, raising my own pigs and animals, all that stuff. And so that was always a great way for me to start talking about my work ethic. I also worked a lot in retail when I was a college student. I wasn't on the farm anymore, but I had to pay my own bills. So I worked at Lazarus department store in the Fayette Mall. I also worked at Dillard's, and I worked for professors on campus as well. So even though those jobs weren't particularly relevant for the positions I was looking for after college, it went back to those transferable skills. I learned a lot about customer service. I learned an awful lot about communication, and those were things that I sold in my cover letter. And the passion for the job, my education, the classes I loved, anything that you can really highlight in the cover letter that's not just a repeat of what you've written on your resume is a good thing. For the last paragraph, I think it's important to close with a call to action. So ask them for something. And this student has chosen to say that they look forward to the opportunity for a personal interview. I'm eager to learn more about your gallery operations, and I look forward to the opportunity for a personal interview. That is their way of asking for an interview. You want to close with a strong statement like that. If you know for sure that you're going to see a recruiter from an organization at a job fair, you can say, I look forward to talking to you more about your opportunity, and I hope to see you at the upcoming Family Science Career Fair. So there's a strong close there. Now, again, go out to the internet, look at cover letter examples. That will be helpful for you. But I would say, by and large, remember, it's a letter, it's a communication between you and a recruiter or maybe a committee of people, and you really just want to do your best to make it personal, professional, and be concise. Don't use 50 words to say what you could say in 10. If I could emphasize anything to any resume writer, it would be that. It's like, really just cut to the chase, because a lot of recruiters and even scholarship committee members, we're reading a lot of resumes, a lot of letters, a lot of personal statements. So use powerful, bold language, cut to the chase, get there fast. Email. I like to talk a little bit about email communication. So I would say, if you're going to send your resume and cover letter to an organization that's recruiting for a position, I would definitely attach PDFs of your resume and your cover letter to that email. Don't use the email. Don't copy and paste your letter into the body of the email. You might make a quick statement like, "Hi, Mrs. Smith. Attached you will find my resume and cover letter. I'm excited to submit my application for the position of camp counselor at Cumberland's 4-H camp. Please let me know if you have any questions. My phone number and my email are listed below." You know, you want to be short and sweet in that email, but you want to attach those formal documents to the email. You always want to send your resumes and cover letters as PDFs. That way, it doesn't matter what kind of computer the receiver is using, what programs they have on their end, everyone can open and process a PDF, typically. So, do I have any questions? And you can type your questions into the chat. I would be glad to help you with any specific needs you have on resumes. I know I have some folks joining us from high school. High school resumes, like I said, are different than college resumes. One thing that I would suggest is, lost my train of thought. Oh, career fair resumes. So if you are using your resume for a career fair, where you're going to be passing that resume out to 10, 20, 30 employers, it is hard to tailor that resume to a specific employer, because not all the employers at that opportunity fair are going to be looking for the same things. So I would say, in that case, that education, like telling me what you're working on and when you're graduating, is very helpful because that lets me know when you're going to graduate. And that's also an indicator of what you're looking for. Are you looking for a part-time job, an internship, or a full-time position? Also, that would be the one case that I would say an objective statement can be helpful. You can certainly be very short and sweet, and in that objective statement say, I am an ambitious and innovative AggieCon student seeking a summer internship with an agribusiness or agrifinance firm. If you're a family science student, you might say, I am a junior in University of Kentucky Family Science Department, and I am seeking a summer 2018 internship. And you can also go into a little bit of details about what you want to offer that employer. Seeking an internship where I can offer my experience in early childhood education, communication skills, and it really depends on you as the student. Another tip, and this might be my most important and I think profound tip, is that all too often we are seeing resumes and cover letters that are focused on the applicant. A lot of times students aren't shy about articulating what they want to get out of the deal. I want an internship or a part-time job where I can learn more about your business, sharpen my leadership skills. That's all well and good. But as an employer, what they want to know is, what can you bring to me? What can you offer me? What can you contribute? And so you need to talk about that, because remember, they're probably going to look at 30, 40, 50 resumes. And so if they're reading your resume and your cover letter and all you're doing is talking about what you want to get out of the deal, they're going to look down the pile at the student that says, hey, these are my experiences and this is how I can see myself being an asset to your team. This is how I can be part of your solutions. This is what I can add to your business or your organization. So don't do that. Don't let yourself be that person, because again, with resumes and cover letters and communications with employers and potential employers, you really want to focus on them and their needs. You don't want to spend all of your time focusing on your needs and what you want to get out of the deal. So that is all I have. Thank you so much. If you are in the Lexington area and you are a high schooler and you're looking for a place to be in college, we welcome you to take a tour of the College of Ag, Food, and Environment. If you're a college student on our campus, I am located in the Ag Science Center. I am in room N8 most of the time. Sometimes I have some office hours over in Erickson Hall as well. And if you are one of those students that's across campus, you're not close to this side of campus, let me know. I'll meet you at the Starbucks. We'll definitely make it happen. So if you have any other questions, you have my contact information. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.